The Asian Cup is within 1 week, actually less than a week now, and I think it's time that we go through some previews and some predictions. Don't mind the sweatshirt here, it's a bit cold. But before we begin, just wanted to say that I will be doing watch-along streams on my Twitch. Guaranteed I'll be doing all the Vietnam games, but also I will be trying to do some other matches, and I might be doing that with other people. So yeah, go ahead and follow that Twitch, and stay tuned. So to begin our preview, we start with the reigning champions, Qatar. Qatar won their first ever Asian Cup title in 2019. They absolutely smashed up the tournament, winning all of their games and only conceded once throughout. 2023 will be their 11th appearance, their first came in 1980. Qatar hope to retain their title, however the competition is arguably much better than in 2019. It could be complicated as well with how the team has just appointed a new manager. And it's not exactly been a great start for the Qataris as they just lost to Jordan. But the majority of the core from 2019 will be present in this Asian Cup as well, so there's some experience. Look out for star attackers like Al-Muaz Ali and Akram Afif. These guys held the titles of top scorer and assister in 2019. Al-Muaz Ali in particular had 9 goals in the previous tournament, which actually puts him like top 5 all time already. This will be China's 13th appearance in the Asian Cup, and while that's an impressive number, you can't forget that 13 is an unlucky number in China. Either way, they haven't missed a single tournament since 1976. Their best finish was a second place back in 1982 and 2004 when they were hosts. And last time out, China reached the quarterfinals where they were battered by Iran. China nowadays are far from the heights they once were able to reach though. Hell, I'd say they're pretty close to rock bottom as they just recently lost to their bitter rivals Hong Kong. Really all I can say for this team is it's Wu Lei and pray. Going into this tournament, this will be Lebanon's 3rd appearance, and in the last 2 appearances, they have never made it past the groups. 2019 in particular was pretty painful for Lebanon. They just missed out on advancing as one of the best 3rd place teams due to disciplinary record. It's hard to say how Lebanon will perform in this tournament because they just appointed a manager last month. And before he came in, Lebanon had some pretty decent performances, like a win against Jordan, but they also drew with 183rd ranked in the world, Bangladesh. Watch out for skipper Hassan Matuk. He scored 23 times, which makes him Lebanon's all-time leading scorer. This will be Tajikistan's first ever appearance in the Asian Cup. Under manager Peter Seger, Tajikistan hold a promising core of fresh young talent. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're in the top 3 youngest squads in this tournament. This is a team that loves to play on the counter, so that could produce a shocker too. Into Group B, we start with one of the favorites for this tournament, Australia. Australia wasn't an AFC member until 2007, so this is actually just their 5th appearance. That said, they've never missed a single tournament. And in one of those last 4 appearances, they won 1 title back in 2015. After a heart-shattering extra time volley from Tadanari Lee in the 2011 final, the Socceroos once again reached the final in 2015 and defeated South Korea in extra time. In the last tournament, however, the former reigning champions had a disappointing campaign and lost in the quarters. Going into this tournament, even though they're considered favorites, there's not really any notable players with a high reputation in Europe. But that honestly works in Australia's favor. They love to play under the radar. And that was the case back in 2022 when manager Graham Arnold led the team to the last 16 when no one else believed in the Socceroos. And for that reason, they are one of the favorites in this tournament. The defense will be led by Harry Sutar, who is easily one of the best defenders entering the Asian Cup. There's even more durability in defense with veteran keeper Matt Ryan. In the midfield, Jackson Irvine will be essential to the team's success. While in attack, Australia will more than likely rely upon the goal scoring of Mitchell Duke. Uzbekistan wasn't an AFC member until the 1996 Asian Cup, and much like Australia, they haven't missed a tournament since. This will be their 8th appearance, and their best finish came in 2011 when they reached the semis. Just don't ask them about that semi-final match against Australia. Speaking of Australia, in the last tournament, the Uzbeks lost to the Socceroos on penalties. Oh, just a reminder, Uzbekistan is in the same group as Australia. There is no escape. These guys are like the permanent dark horses of Asian football, but this tournament might be a little more difficult. Star striker Eldor Shomurodov will be out due to injury, which is a huge blow to the Uzbeks. However, with a pretty good core of players and an extremely experienced coach, Uzbekistan still could go really far. India have 4 appearances since 1964, and their best finish came in 1964, when the tournament was still just a 4-team round robin. Their most recent campaign in 2019 was pretty unlucky. Indian football oversaw a breakthrough and thumped Thailand 4-1. However, a last-minute penalty in the last game ended all hopes of India moving on to the knockouts. And honestly, this year, it ain't looking good. This team is still just Sunil Chhetri FC, which isn't like a bad thing. This guy has 93 goals for India, but if you're relying on one guy that is 39 years old Yeah, it ain't looking great. This will be Syria's 7th appearance in the Asian Cup, and in the past 6 appearances, they have never made it past the groups. The legendary Omar Al-Soma was left out of the squad, so that's not really a great start. That said, the majority of Syria's squad plays their football in leagues with pretty decent quality. That includes forward Omar Kiribin, who scored 21 goals in 55 caps. The national team also recently called up defender Ayhan Usu, who plays for Slavia Prague. But despite these tiny little positives here or there, their manager hasn't produced great results since coming in early 2023. Group C, we start with the most winningest team in the Asian Cup, Iran. This will be Iran's 15th appearance, and in the last 14 appearances, they've won 3 titles. But the last one was back in 1976. And since then, it's been nothing but heartbreak. 2019 was no different when they were outplayed by Japan and just missed out on the final. And quite honestly, I don't think there's really anything changing with this Asian Cup. The team hasn't looked great with their new manager. They blew a 2-0 lead against Uzbekistan, and then just barely scratched the result against Burkina Faso. This is far from the Iranian side that we saw beat Uruguay in 2022. That said, this team still has some great talent. This might be their last tournament to really show off what they can do though. Saman Ghoddos of Brentford has been looking really good this year, and of course you got the lethal duo of Mehdi Taremi and Sardar Azmoun. The UAE has had 11 appearances in the Asian Cup, with their best finish being a 2nd place in 1996. And last time out they reached the semi-finals as hosts. 2015 was another memorable performance as the UAE saw the breakout performances of Ali Mabgout and Omar Abdulrahman. They ended up finishing 3rd after beating Iraq 3-2. Former South Korea manager Paolo Bento was appointed manager in 2023, and under his guidance the national team went on a 7-game winning streak. However, a possible red flag could be the fact that they just lost to Oman. Once more, it is probably going to be UAE's attack that moves this team forward. There's Caio Canedo and his questionable international record, but more importantly, there's the ever so clinical Ali Mabgout, who has 85 goals and 114 caps. Palestine go into this tournament, and this will be the 3rd time they enter the Asian Cup. And they only recently just found success, as their first ever tournament was back in 2015. And considering the IDF has destroyed the careers of many young promising Palestinian footballers, leaving them to be playing in the handicap leagues, I would say this is a pretty impressive feat. That said, they have never made it past the groups, but maybe things could change, because back in 2019, the team drew twice and finished 3rd in their group. So maybe 2024 is finally the time we see them get their first win. The team holds a solid defense with a top keeper in Rami Hamadi between the sticks. He has 20 clean sheets in 35 caps. And in attack, Palestine's goal production could come from Oday Dabak, who plays his football in Belgium. The true superpower of this Palestinian team, however, will be the heart and soul they pour onto the pitch in spite of the ongoing genocide. Hong Kong. That's it. It's just Hong Kong. This is their 4th appearance, however, it's their first appearance in over 55 years. Their best finish came in 3rd place. That was back in the inaugural Asian Cup. Hong Kong go into this tournament having just recently beaten their bitter rivals, China 2-1. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that they are the weakest team going into this tournament. But watch out for forward Michael Udubuluzor though. He plays in Germany and already has 2 goals and 5 caps at just 19 years old. Group D. And we start with easily the heaviest favorites possible, Japan. This will be their 10th appearance, and they haven't missed a tournament since 1988. They also hold the most titles of any other nation with 4, 1992, 2000, 2004, and most recently 2011. In the last tournament, a relatively young and developing Japanese team reached the final and lost 3-1 to Qatar. Now, they have fully developed, and they are huge favorites to win it all. Honestly, I haven't seen such a big favorite in a long time. And there's a reason for that, because back in 2023, they steamrolled past every single opponent. Sure, some of the opponents were Syria, Thailand, you know, those types of smaller nations, but other nations included Germany, Turkey. I mean, that's just insane. 8 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, 36 goals scored, 8 conceded in 1 year. That's insane. Head coach Hajime Moriyasu has this team playing extremely attractive technical football. This wasn't built overnight though. This was instilled in the culture since the beginning of the J-League 30 years ago. However, not only is the national team in its best form, There's individuals in their best form currently. Fullback Takehiro Tomogotsu has turned it around at Arsenal. Takefusa Kubo has gone on a redemption arc like no other and has been grilling La Liga defenders left and right. Wataru Endo is not only the engine of Japan now, but also Liverpool. And Yunya Ito is currently one of the most creative midfielders in Liga. The only concern is the fact that Kaoru Mitoma isn't 100%, but there is so much depth in this team that I feel like that's not going to be too much of an issue. Since 1996, Iraq has qualified for all 8 tournaments, but in total, they now have 10 appearances. They won the tournament back in 2004 in what is considered one of the greatest football fairy tales. But in contrast, the Iraqis' last tournament was pretty underwhelming. They were eliminated in the last 16 by Qatar. Oh, by the way, if you ever get a chance to, watch the highlights of Iraq vs Iran in the 2015 Asian Cup. For how insane this game was, no one ever seems to talk about it. Iraq is definitely one of the underdogs and probably one of the dark horses going into this tournament though. Manager Jesus Casas has turned around the program and this team looks very hungry. Defender Ali Adnan's veteran expertise should help guide a pretty young Iraqi side. Now a lot of people are talking about 20-year-old Zidane Iqbal, but he hasn't really done much in the club scene and he only has 5 caps for the national team. I think more eyes, however, should be on 23-year-old Mohamed Ali. He has 18 goals in 41 caps. For Vietnam, this is their 3rd appearance since reunification. Their first tournament was back in 2007 when they were one of 4 hosts. However, 2019 was the first Asian Cup for them where they qualified on merit. And in that tournament, they shocked many and reached the quarterfinals after beating Jordan on penalties. Vietnam once again has a pretty good chance of advancing to the next round. Is what I would have said had we not lost our best keeper, our best defender, our best midfielder, and our best striker. However, defender Nguyen Thanh Binh should hold the fort quite well, while I also expect good things from striker Phan Tuan Hai. More importantly, new manager Philippe Troussier is coming prepared as he's been experimenting with younger talent. Look out for 20-year-old midfielder Quat Van Cang, a highly rated prospect in Vietnam. Indonesia, this will be their 15th appearance and first in over 16 years. This team has never made it past the groups, however, they were within 1 point of reaching the knockouts in 2007. Indonesians should be pretty excited for the next generation coming forward. Shin Tae-young was the mastermind behind South Korea's 2-0 win versus Germany, and he's going to be the one guiding a very young Indonesian team. In fact, there's only 2 players that are 30 or older. 21-year-old defender Elkan Baggio will be vital to the team's backline, while Indonesians hope to see something from their golden boy Marcelino Ferdinand. Group E, we start with South Korea. They've had 15 appearances in the tournament, they won the first 2, and they haven't won since. However, they have gone to 4 different finals, and lost every single one of them. Netherlands Type B. For the love of God! 2019 saw the Koreans finish outside the top 3 for only the 4th time in their history after losing to Qatar in the quarters. However, since then, South Korea's core has improved significantly. Min Jae Kim is the best defender from the continent. Hwang Hee-chan is in the form of his life at Wolves right now. Cho Gui-sung is just coming off a title-winning season in Denmark with 11 goal contributions and 15 starts. Lee Kang-in is a super exciting talent who's won lots of praise at PSG. And of course, there's the X-Factor, Son Heung-min. He's already got 12 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League this season. The one thing that could destroy any and all momentum, however, is their head coach. Since coming in, Jurgen Klinsmann has come under constant criticism for his tactics. Bahrain entered this tournament for a 6th time, and they have qualified for every tournament since 2004. And their best finish came in 2004, when in the semis they just missed out on the final after losing 4-3 to Japan. Outside of that tournament, Bahrain has never been able to get past the last 16. 2019 was no different when they lost to South Korea in the knockouts. Going into this tournament, Bahrain have a lot of experience, and this isn't me just using some useless buzzword. 4 players either have above 100 caps or are close to 100 caps, one of which includes forward Abdullah Yusuf Hilal. He has 13 goals and 96 caps, and he's also the only Bahraini playing in Europe. Another player who can make an impact is midfielder Mohamed Marhoun. He has 14 goals and 54 caps. This will be Jordan's 5th appearance in the tournament since 2004. Their best finishes were the quarterfinals back in 2011 and their debut tournament in 2004. In the last tournament, the Jordanians were shocked by Vietnam in the last 16, and Jordan entered the 2023 tournament in pretty poor form. However, they did just beat Qatar 2-1. The clear star to look out for here is the one guy playing in Europe right now. Midfielder Musa Al-Tamari has 12 goals and 63 caps. For Malaysia, this will be their 4th appearance, their first since 2007, but this is their first qualification on merit in over 43 years. They have never made it past the knockouts, but they were within 1 point of advancing back in 1980. Nowadays, since the appointment of Kim Pan-gon, Malaysia has only been on the up. Look out for their attack in particular. Darren Lock has been back bagging really important goals in qualifiers. One other thing is he has a height advantage, so while Malaysia may not get many attacks, if they get corners, look out for this guy. Faisal Halim has turned into the team's main goal scorer, and a lot of Malaysians are excited about winger Arif Aiman. Oh, also, fun fact here, I know someone whose sister just recently married defender Matt Davies. Lastly, we have Group F, and this one starts with Saudi Arabia. This is their 11th appearance, and they've qualified for every tournament since 1984. Speaking of 1984, they won the Asian Cup in what is technically their debut tournament. I say that because technically they withdrew from 1976 and 1980. They've also won the trophy, however, in 1988 and 1996. But since the golden era between the 80s and the late 2000s, Saudi Arabia's performances in the tournament have dropped off significantly. 2019 was no different, as they were eliminated by Japan in the last 16. And since their incredible triumph versus Argentina, not only did Saudi Arabia disappear in the World Cup, they disappeared entirely, going 8 games winless throughout 2023. However, they have won their most recent 3 games against pretty okay Asian sides. The new manager since Ervinard's departure is now Roberto Mancini. So basically what this means is either things will go really well or extremely terribly. Key players will be the likes of Salam Al-Dossari, who has 22 goals and 78 caps, and Salah El-Sheri, who has 15 goals and 30 caps. Goalkeeper could be a serious concern, however, considering the most experienced keeper in this squad has 5 caps for the national team. For Oman, this will be their 5th appearance at the Asian Cup since qualifying in 2004. Their best finish came in 2019 when the Omanis reached the last 16. On the surface, it sounds pretty underwhelming considering Oman is usually one of the dark horses in Asian qualifiers. They're usually considered a pretty decent team. But then you see the fact that they played Uzbekistan and Japan in the groups and then lost to Iran in the knockouts. Like, I mean, that's just tough. Branko Ivankovic has done wonders for Oman since being appointed in 2020. For that reason, I think if Oman play their cards right, they could go pretty far this tournament. Also, not to mention, in their most recent friendlies, they beat China and the UAE. Look out for midfielder Abdullah Fawaz. I consider him one of Oman's best players. This will be Thailand's 8th appearance, and their best finish came in 1972 when they finished 3rd as hosts. However, 2019 was their first tournament since 2007, and Thailand managed to advance to the knockouts for the first time since 1972. Thailand have a pretty solid core of players that can hold their own. Players like Chanatip, Tirasil. They're injured though. But that's not even the worst thing going for Thailand, because their federation is currently displaying a full-blown clown show. We haven't heard a single thing about Thailand. You want to know why? Because they're still in Thailand. And also, because of this, it resulted in one of Thailand's most promising players, Ekanit Panya, to withdraw from the squad. Well, I guess it's also that and the fact that he has like a training camp in January with his club, Urawa Reds, but still, I mean, I think preparations probably played a big part in that. Oh, and you know, the lack of preparations, you know, that doesn't sound great. And then you remember the fact that their head coach was just hired and he's only managed 1 game. You're like, yeah, sure, he has experience with this team before, but not exactly this particular team he's currently managing. But hey, Teraton is still there, you know, a player that has proven that he can hold his own even in leagues like the J-League. Too bad he got food poisoning a week before the tournament. It ain't looking good, guys. And finally, we have Kyrgyzstan. This will be their 2nd appearance. Their first was back in 2019. And speaking of their debut tournament in 2019, they actually impressed and advanced as one of the best 3rd place teams. And in the last 16, the national team scored a dramatic last-minute equalizer versus the UAE, only to be fucked over by the refs. Kyrgyzstan throughout 2023 have had a lot of friendlies against some pretty challenging opponents. I'm assuming this is really just for some extended preparations. And there is potential with this team because they recently beat Oman 1-0 in qualifiers, but they also blew a 3-1 lead to Malaysia. Kyrgyzstan hold one of the youngest players in this tournament, Beknaz Almazbekov, an 18-year-old midfielder from Galatasaray who has 4 caps. Now that we've gone over the previews, it's time for the predictions. I'm sure this will go well. Keep in mind though, along with the top 2 in each group, there will be 4 of the best 3rd place teams that will advance to the knockouts as well. When it comes to the knockouts, I'm not really going to do much predicting there. It's only just going to be the groups. We'll do knockouts in another video, probably like after all the groups are done. Group A is practically the coaching crisis group, so it completely opens up the group for anyone. Qatar should have enough experience and talent to win, lucky them. And I went with Tajikistan for 2nd because they seem to be the only other relatively stable team. China, I think, will have enough against Lebanon, considering the fact that just Lebanon are questionable right now. But it should be mentioned that, you know, China's loss to Hong Kong was bad. You should see their away results over the last 3 years. Over in Group B, I think Australia should easily win this group. Uzbekistan are in fantastic form, so they should be able to grab second pretty easily. And while Syria may be in underwhelming form, they don't rely on a single player like India. Into Group C, this is probably the easiest group to predict. Iran and UAE will effortlessly take the top 2 spots, and Palestine should be able to beat Hong Kong to take third. Group D, Japan winning this group is a given. If you have anyone else winning this group, you are truly delusional. Iraq, as I said, are dark horses and they should easily take second. And finally, Vietnam, despite all the injuries, will probably find a way to overcome their little brothers. Over in Group E, Jurgen Klinsmann may be a severely disappointing manager, but South Korea's high-end talent should pull them through as winners. Now, this is probably going to be the boldest prediction I make, but I feel pretty confident about this one. Malaysia is in the best form in a long time. They have pieces that are capable of giving them that advantage. I think they will take second, especially considering Jordan are low questionable, and as well Bahrain. Speaking of Jordan, they are currently in a bit of a re-emergence period, but for right now, I can only see third for them. Finally, there's Group F. Saudi Arabia, easy winners of the group. Oman, potential dark horses, easy second place there. And because Thailand is completely shambolic right now, I got Kyrgyzstan in third. So yeah, those are my predictions for the Asian Cup coming up. Remember that I will be doing watch-alongs for the Vietnam games and also probably a couple others on my Twitch. But what do you guys think of these predictions, and what are your predictions? Leave them down below. But of course, a massive shout out to all our patrons, including Janos Barash, Chris Damasceno, Miliway009, Anazir Makalancom, Aldipu, Alex Rod, Alta, Anaya20, Araisan, Billy Jack, Daniel Ortiz, Hysteria, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kit, Snifrix, Taco Okafan, Tana Permilia Celine Khan, Tomicus, Victor, A1KLCF, Chris Visconti, Dominic Griffin, Lewis, Joe Aparicio, Kyler Krebs, Lucian Von Croix, Michael Nista, Niche, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, Rowan Cookie, Sylvia Citrus, subscribe to Tendatum, Unbroken Persona, and Valencia 14. If you'd like to join the Patreon, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my TikTok. You don't really have to do that. And of course, you can follow my Twitch. Actually, I recommend you follow the Twitch so you get to see the watch-alongs. But until then, I'll see you guys.